So Sarang, go ahead. If you have anything to add, you can basically add something.
No, I think that's kind of the point. So I'll kind of answer the third question, which is what are the benefits of learning these concepts with respect to industry requirement? Again, as I mentioned before, this is exactly what the industry requires. So by learning these topics, you are actually meeting the expectations of the industry, right? So when I say benefit, you are as a candidate, you are going to be more appealing to the interviewer if you show that, hey, I've actually done very nice projects, even though they're fundamental in certain ways. I've done this nice projects in MATLAB and Simulink, and I've also done a couple of projects in my core area using some computational tools. Right? If you're able to demonstrate that, I think getting a job becomes extremely easy. Now, here's the thing, right? Majority of you have GPS probably between 75 and 80, correct? Now, and I'm assuming that most of you guys are from different parts of India, correct? Some of you might be from northern India and some of you might be from central and southern India, right? If you look at GPA, right, assuming that everyone's on a GPA scale, I bet that in this entire audience, majority of them have a percentage or GPA between 7 and 7.5, correct? Now, if you look at all of your profile, if I get the resumes of each and every one of you, you will have medium GPA. You will have one project that you did in your third year and one project that you did in your final year. Correct? I'm assuming this statement is true for most of you. Now, when all of you apply for a job, there is absolutely no differentiation between your profiles, and that's the problem. That's the problem. That's the problem why people are not identifying your profile. And one of the primary benefits of this particular program is that it helps you solve this. The program is not easy, guys, right? It's a lot of hard work, correct? It's a lot of hard work, and I think that is why there is also success here. When you finish the program, you genuinely can work on a lot of projects that your friends, that your colleagues cannot do, and that I think is a fundamental advantage that you have when you go for job interviews.
Great. Sarang, so I did not have a chance to kind of take you through the second semester courses. Say, for example, if someone takes up the CFD track, right? How do they kind of specialize in that particular track? So how have we designed, say, a CFD track or a FEA track or a design track with respect to the industry requirements?
Sure. So let me maybe start by talking about CFD, right? So CFD, as you all know, is computational fluid dynamics. By the way, we did another AMS series, which is actually on YouTube about CFD Masters program that we offer. So you guys should subscribe to our YouTube channel and check it out. But essentially, the idea is in computational fluid dynamics, there's a lot of math involved, there's a lot of programming involved, and then there's a lot of simulations involved, correct? So the first thing that we help you understand is the core theory part, where you're learning the basic mathematics, the numerics, and then you're applying it using computer programs to build your own CFD solvers. Now, the same thing is then done for combustion, and then what you do is you apply both of these theoretical concepts and then proceed to learning a tool like ANSYS Fluent. So one of the things that most of the students do is they directly jump onto a tool like ANSYS Fluent. And the problem with that is you're just clicking buttons. You don't understand what a particular simulation model does, why the mesh has to be created in certain ways. You will never get that understanding if you're just learning a tool. And that is why learning the core theoretical parts are extremely important. And that's how the CFD track is structured. Now, if you look at the FEA track, it's essentially structured in a similar way. We have a very basic course that essentially gives you an idea of how FEA works. So here you're setting up a lot of simulations and you're essentially using your intuition to set up the simulation. And then as the course proceeds, right, when you basically take the HyperMesh course, and I believe there's a course on LS-DYNA, right? In these two courses, there is extreme importance given to the theoretical part of FEA, right? We go into solver methodologies, we talk about how quality criteria affect the mesh, affects the convergence in your results and how it can affect the runtimes. We talk about why you have so many mesh shapes, right? We talk about the math of that a bit, and we again do the same thing that we did with CFD, right? So this gives the student the thorough basics, which is what interviewers are looking for. So an interviewer is not going to ask about your colorful CFD or FEA projects as the first question. He's going to first ask you some fundamental theoretical questions. What's the difference between implicit and explicit method? What is a CFL number, right? What does Jacobian quality criterion do? Only after asking these three questions, he will actually proceed on to the much more tougher and application-based questions, because he has to believe that you are not a button pusher. A button pusher is someone that will just click buttons and you will get colorful results. Now, if you have been watching YouTube videos and if you have been doing this, then you are a button pusher. You will not do well in interviews, at least in good companies, right? And I think that is how the courses have been designed, Surya.
Yeah.
Be it
So,
CFD, FEA, or design.
great. So, for example, guys, so in the CFD track, right, the introduction to CFD using MATLAB and OpenFOAM gives you a good understanding about, say, MATLAB, which is a 2D solver. You create your own small solvers, and same thing with OpenFOAM. OpenFOAM again is an open source platform. So once you go through that, you understand the fundamentals. Then you go to the ANSYS Fluent course, which is a 3D solver. So then you go to the IC engine simulation using Converge, another 3D solver. So you work on multi-dimensional, say for example, two-phase flow, multi-phase flow, turbulence modeling, emission modeling, combustion modeling, spray modeling. So all these aspects of it, and then you go into IC engine calibration using GTPower, which is a system level simulation, which is a 1D tool, right? So if you want to get into a CFD role in a EV domain or a passenger car vehicle domain, or for that matter, this taking up MHEV not only allows you to apply for an automotive job, for any mechanical core job, if you want to apply, you can definitely apply as a CFD engineer, right? Because you understand the fundamentals of CFD, right? You understand the theory aspect of it. You understand a 1D solver, 2D, and a 3D. You apply the theory in all these solvers, and you have very good hold on the whole of computational fluid dynamics, right? Same thing with the FEA. In FEA, if you think about it, there's a pre-processor, solver, and a post-processor. So in the pre-processor, you learn ANSA and Hypermesh. As a solver, you learn crashworthiness using LS-DYNA and radios. And then post-processor, you learn Python for mechanical engineers, right? So all these combined will develop a very strong FEA profile. And the same thing for design and MBD as well. Say in design, if you want to get good at design, you need to know solid modeling, surface, sheet metal, and plastics. Once you do that, you need to understand GD&T, right? So this is something that you can do. Once you understand that, you will be a good design engineer, right? So something that to think about. Sarang, there are a few questions. Probably, guys, we are going to take a short 5-minute question session, right? So what I will do is I'll start reading through a few questions that I've been getting. So one of the question, okay, Bhushan Dangwal, what can I make of myself after completion of this course? Look after for company. So what kind of companies can I apply for after finishing this course?
Sure. So in general, right, I'm assuming that you have just now completed your mechanical engineering portion. If you have completed your mechanical engineering and say that you have a GPA above 6.0 or 60%, this is actually very important, because if your GPA and percentage falls below the 6.0 or 60% limit, it is going to be a bit hard for you to get into the job market. It's inevitable. No one can go and change the minds of the companies saying that, hey, don't look at this requirement. And it kind of makes sense, right? Looking at the GPA is important, but it should not be given that much weightage, right? But it should be given some weightage. So I'm assuming that your GPA is above 60, 6.0, or in percentage wise above 60%. In terms of companies that you can go for, it gets classified as tier 1, tier 2, and tier 3. So you can, as Surya is sharing a screen, right? You may able to get a job in a tier 1 institution like Fiat Chrysler, GKN Aerospace, Bombardier, FEV, right?
Yeah.
FE is actually a tier 2 guy. But you might be able to get into tier 1, or you might be able to get into tier 2 guys. So a tier 2 company is very simple. Tier 2 company is a company that provides services for OEMs and tier 1s, right? Tier 3 essentially, so if you have tier 3, they are helping tier 2 and tier 1. If it's tier 2, they are helping tier 1 and OEM. If it's tier 1, they are helping OEMs. That's it. The companies that you go for, it is strongly related to your GPA. If any of you here have GPAs greater than 8.0, then you can directly aim for OEMs. When I say OEMs, these are your companies like Fiat Chrysler, Ford Motors, Mahindra, Tata. And there having the skill set and having a strong fundamental knowledge is going to help you get the jobs, as simple as that.
Great. So yeah, to summarize, we do help students after our coursework to get into a job. So we have not, so as a fact, we have not seen anyone who has finished this course and not got a job, right? Anyone who has finished this course have got a job. So we have like compiled a list of 50 students. So we have more than, right now, I think it's 220 students placed. So top 50 student placements, we have it. So if you want, we can basically send it across as well. So yeah, Bhushan, I'll basically send it across to you. Rohit Ashok. Rohit is asking if I'm a diploma in automobile engineering. Can I do a PG HEV, PG in hybrid electric vehicles after my diploma? So that's one question. Sunil, want to start my career in automobile. I have a good fortune, sir. Please tell me something about opportunities leading to masters. How much time will it take to? Okay, so I'll answer a few questions. So Divyesh is asking how much time it will take to finish our coursework. So this will take 8 months if you spend.
If you're doing it part time.
40 hours per week, 8 months for 40 hours per week, right? So that's for Sunil. Vineet, what will be the course begin? Is it an online course? What is the cost of the course? Sunil, this is an online, and we do have an offline course as well in Hyderabad, Bangalore, and Chennai. It starts in June. The enrollments basically are closing on April 24th. Akhil, please tell me something about opportunities that leading to masters abroad. So Akhil, if you see this particular thing, so we have also listed out a lot of people who have finished our coursework and went on to do a master's. So an example is Nikit, who is currently pursuing his MS in Georgia Tech, one of the top universities across the world. Tanuj, who is working in computational modeling in Dresden. Krishnan, computational sciences in Braunschweig. Kashif in KAUST, and Mohammad Zubair Akhtar, TH Ingolstadt. Sai Prashant, Michigan Tech, Raj in Clemson. So a lot of students go to abroad universities after finishing up our courses as well. Yes, if you want to pursue a master's career after your undergrad, and if you want to take up a course in the intermediate, I think this is one of the best courses because it will help you not only get an admit, it will create a very good statement of purpose and a resume that will help you get an internship or a research assistantship as well.
So Surya, there is a quick question regarding electrical engineering. So, for example, if there's a student I think called Unni Krishnan. If he's an electrical engineering, I think is asking for recommendations for courses. Oh, okay. So, guys, I can answer that Unni Krishnan, but before that, just a general question to all of you: how many of you are electrical engineers? If you are an electrical engineer, just type in yes.
So because if you are an electrical engineer, what you can do is you can also take a look at our masters in electric vehicle development, design and development. That's a new coursework that we have brought exclusively for electrical engineers. So you can basically.
So how many people have said yes for that?
Let me take a look at it. So 1, 2, 3, 4.
So I have a person who has messaged me privately.
Okay.
So, and I also believe Vatsal is on the call.
Yeah.
So Vatsal, can you hear me? And Surya, you might have to unmute Vatsal.
Okay.
Yeah. Hi, Sharan.
Hey, Vatsal. Thank you for joining. Vatsal, and guys, Vatsal is the program director for the electrical engineering courses. Vatsal has a large amount of experience in building electric vehicles in the past, and is basically the in-house electric vehicle specialist at Skilllink, and also the programming director for the electric vehicle masters program, but which is meant for electrical engineers. So Vatsal, since you have taken a look at the curriculum for both the mechanical engineering masters hybrid program and electrical engineers masters hybrid program, would you basically compare and contrast the differences for the few candidates that are actually part of electrical engineering?
Yeah, sure, Sarang. So what I will say for HEV program, which is intended for mechanical and automotive engineers, uh, there is an introduction of electrical technology, right? So you need not to design the electric vehicle related components, but you need to basically know how it works. And so that the mechanical auxiliaries like cooling system or maybe enclosures or any other designs, how you can make compatible to that. Right. So that's about HEV program. In case of electric vehicle program, which is recommended for electrical and electronics engineering students, here we have all the courses which deals with the design of components, right? And PCB design, we have courses related to motor controller and battery and modeling and simulation as well. So these are the courses where all components will be dealt in detail, and you will be basically doing the design, right? You will not only know how it works, but you will be dealing with the design part of it. So that is a primary difference, I will say. The similarity, I will say, the initial part or the introductory courses are somewhat similar, keeping in mind that even electrical engineers also need some background in order to get started with the courses.
So Sarang, shall I take a few more questions?
Sure, no problem, Surya. Go ahead.
Okay. So guys, a few questions that I saw was, I have finished my diploma and want to do this course. If you have finished your diploma, you can definitely do this course as well. It will be a little difficult, but we will be spending more time with students who have finished diploma to kind of strengthen their fundamental engineering knowledge. So you will have additional special classes. So another person had asked, I have 89 percentage, 3 major projects, 2 paper presentation, one first and national level in both the papers. Previously, someone told design was the main area. Then they told SAP. Now it's EV. Every year the technology changes. What will it be worth to spend 8 months in this particular coursework? Will the technology change? A short answer for that is actually there is jobs in SAP, there is jobs in design, there is and will be jobs in EV as well. So while the domain specific, so if you take a design, CFD, FEA, CAE, or EV or HEV, right, there will always be jobs. It is more important to be sure if you will be able to get the job, right? So the ability of yourself to get a job is going to be based upon the work that you basically do. A short answer is yes, since EV is kind of the future, there will definitely be jobs. Even if EV is not the future, if you do these coursework really well, you basically get a very good fundamental understanding of mechanical and electrical engineering. So which allows you to go and develop and apply for any job and get your job out there as well. So that's something to think about. Sir, what is going to be the package after placement? Prakash. So Prakash, what we see is anyone with a good GPA and finished our coursework with all the projects get usually somewhere around 3 to 4.5 lakh. So we have seen a 5 lakh package as the maximum, and our minimum that we have seen is 2.8 lakhs. So on average, we see somewhere around 3.5 lakhs CTC. What are the skills required to land a good job? Himanshu, as I said, having a good fundamental of controls, battery management system, and electric vehicle architecture included with either a design CFD or a FEA domain expertise will help you land a job. Vineet, when will the course begin? Is it an online course? Yes, Vineet, it's an online course. We also have an offline course for people who want an offline opportunity. Sir, I'm doing my diploma. Yes, I already said that. So, Sri Vinay, sir, talk about the ongoing recession and how it affects the HEV industry. Sarang, do you want to take that question?
Yes, absolutely. So I think this is a concern amongst a lot of engineers, right? Essentially, people who are looking for jobs, maybe people who have just now graduated and are in the middle of a job. So you can actually look at it two ways, right? A, the recession is going to happen. B, the recession is not going to happen. Correct? Let us talk about the scenario where recession is going to happen, and we can look at historically what companies have done, because that's what they're going to do again. In case of a recession, a company usually lays off anyone. They usually lay off experienced resources because you pay them more. I think we can all agree on that, correct? The thing that they then do is they don't reduce the amount of work that they have to do. And here's the problem, because they know that, okay, recession is going to take place right now, but in the next 12 months, it's going to recover. Right? It has recovered in the past. So the companies are not going to say that, okay, I'm going to close my product development shop today and I'm going to just fire all my. Any company that is going to do is that will do this will anywhere run out of business. So what they will do is they will temporarily lay off experienced resource, but they will still have the same number of projects that they have to finish in terms of new development or whatever it is, right? Now, here's the point. Who is going to do all that work? Well, their attention is immediately going to go to extremely skilled freshers. The reason is very simple. Skilled freshers, they're skilled, so you don't train them. You don't have to spend money on training. Plus, they are freshers, so you don't have to pay them a 10 lakh or a 12 lakh package to get things done. You can actually ask them to come and work, and you can pay them reasonably well, like anywhere between 3 to 5 lakhs, and they will work. So it's a great win for the company because they now have skilled engineers who can actually work on the project at a much cheaper price. This is the scenario where recession, if this is what is going to happen if recession takes place. Now, say that if recession is not going to take place, then you don't have to worry about anything. The EV market is already growing at a great rate, right? So people will, in both the scenarios, especially if you're a fresher and if you want to get into automotive sector, getting into hybrid electric vehicles or just electric vehicles for that matter is a great choice, because like I said, you're essentially proofing your career for the next 5 to 6 years. I hope that makes sense.
Thanks, Sarang. So something that I also wanted to show you guys is, why do skilling students get placed, right? So a question that I usually get. So if you are a skilling student, you basically get to work on projects, right? Every course. So you saw multiple courses in semester 1 and semester 2. So every course will have 3 to 4 projects and 8 assignments. So when you start working on these projects and assignments, you start building portfolio of projects. So for example, so these are a portfolio of projects that Puneet Pawar has in his profile, right? If you go click on any particular project, you will see how well he has worked on it. So for example, if I click on transient analysis of universal giant, I can see what Puneet Pawar has done in this particular project, right? So I can see every aspect of the result, right? So for example, in this particular project, he has worked on stress analysis. Say if I am basically clicking on conjugate heat transfer simulation flow through a hollow aluminum pipe, right? So there is an objective, there is understanding of the problem. A few of you asked, how will the theoretical understanding be taught? So we basically start from the basics, right? So we teach you the basics so that you understand not only how to operate the software, but what goes beyond the software as well. So he basically sets up the simulation, creates reports and everything, right? So what helped Puneet Pawar basically is these kind of reports helped him to get into Fiat Chrysler Automotive, right? So, okay, is this only with Puneet Pawar? No. So for example, Sachin, right? Sachin again is took up our CAE Masters specialization. So he developed his portfolio. And if you basically go to this PDF, I basically have listed out all their LinkedIn profiles as well, right? So I can go to every particular student and I can see how his LinkedIn profile. Here, Sachin Murli, I can basically click on this LinkedIn URL and see it. So if I go over here and so this is Sachin Muralidharan, and he is currently working as a vehicle architect at Ford Motors, right? So what does this do? You having a very strong portfolio is what people will start looking at. So people will not start looking at resumes, because so in this webinar, right? In this webinar, there are 170 mechanical engineers, right? And to give you an idea, all your resumes will be very similar. The only difference will be the final year project of some of you might be different, right? And then you will have a pre-final year project. Apart from that, you will primarily have the software tools, which will be, say, AutoCAD, Creo, SolidWorks, NXCAD if you are in design, if you're in CFD, Fluent or something. But you will not be able to showcase the projects that you have worked on. So the ability of you to showcase the projects gives you the extra advantage over your peers. And that's what a skilling course, especially a course like a hybrid electric vehicles, does for you, right? Okay, let me see if we have answered a few other questions. What are the job opportunities that are available, right? So, as Sarang said, you can split this up into tier 1, tier 2, tier 3 and OEMs, right? If you do really well in this course, and if your GPA is about 8 GPA, you can definitely expect to get placed in an OEM. Same thing, if you're above 6.5 or 6 to 7, you can expect to get into tier 2 and tier 1. If you're in 7 and above, you can expect tier 1 and OEMs. So it also depends upon your GPA, because these top companies have a GPA filter when they apply, right? So how do we help you in getting these interviews, right? So here is where we keep consistent tool test. So what is a tool test? Whenever you learn something, you need to be very proficient in the tool, and that is something that the companies will test out, right? Irrespective of design, CFD or FEA, the companies will definitely test out all those skills. So you need to be really good at that. So we provide you 3 tool tests for each tool, and we basically give you feedback on how you can improve that as well, right? Then mock interviews. So the first round of any interview in a company is going to be with to test your technical knowledge. So we provide you frequently asked questions for say FEA, CFD, EV or MBD, so that you basically are able to crack the technical interview, then go on to the tool test, apply the theory and projects that you worked on skilling, crack the tool test, then HR, and you basically crack that and get into a job, right? So this is the whole process, right? So Sarang, did you want to add something?
No, Surya.
Okay, great. So let me see if you have any other questions. Okay,
Also,
Abhishek.
from a time point of view, if there are any constraints, do let me know.
Okay, Abhishek was asking, as we know, electric vehicles is the future, and our country is decreased in the fuel. Why the course is HEV? Why not electric vehicles course? Abhishek, this HEV course is for mechanical engineers. There is a pure electric vehicle course as well, master's certification program in electric vehicle design and analysis. That is for purely for electrical engineers. The difference is, as a mechanical engineer, you will be sought out for mechanical engineering jobs which integrate with EV architecture. As an electrical engineer, you will be interviewed and hired for design and development of electric vehicles in electric modules of those vehicles, right? So there is a difference. So that is why hybrid electric vehicle and EV. So as an electrical engineer, you will find it difficult to finish the second semester courses in hybrid electric vehicle. As a mechanical engineer, you will find it a little difficult to finish the EV courses, but it is not impossible. If you want to do masters in EV, if you are a mechanical engineer, you can take that as well, right? So that's the short answer. Okay, so we are running short of time. Let me kind of Rohan, with the increasing job demand, is it necessary for engineers to work on product development so as to create jobs? How enrolling in skilling courses help me build my dream product? Uh, if your dream product is say designing a passenger car, right? So a skilling course basically allows you to understand what are the aspects of a passenger car that you need to take into account, right? So if you want to get into product design, there are multiple phases, right? You first design the component. Then once you design the component, you do an analysis of that component. You basically do a FEA or CFD analysis, then take that feedback about your design and implement it again in your design, right? Then you basically start prototyping and manufacturing. So skilling course will allow you to be really good at product development, which is design and analysis. So that is where you will become really good at, and that's where you can apply for jobs as well. Srihari, hello, please tell me, am I eligible? I do not know what your criteria is, but to give you a general feedback, anyone with more than 6 GPA is eligible to enroll in both our programs. What is the difference between masters in HEV and post-graduation diploma in HEV? Masters in HEV is a purely online coursework. Postgraduate program in HEV is an offline program, which is happening in Chennai, Hyderabad, and Bangalore. To get into automobile jobs, which one to choose, CAE Masters or HEV Masters? I would recommend HEV Masters because it consists both electric and also the CAE Masters component of it. Okay, so since we are running out of time, what I'm going to do is I'm going to basically cut this short and take the last few questions.
So Surya, I got a question from like 3 to 4 students who might be interested in enrolling.
Okay,
so
please.
maybe it might be a better idea to just give out general instructions for people who are interested. So guys, if you are interested in enrolling in the program, just put in your email ID and phone number in the chat, and we'll get in touch with you, and we'll let you know if you would be a good fit for the program or not.
Yes, guys. So the course price is 2,45,000 rupees, right? For COVID-19 and till April 24th, till our next batch alone, what we are doing is for our hybrid electric vehicle course, we are basically slashing the price to 22 lakh rupees, right? The reason that we are doing this is to make sure a lot of people are able to make use of this downtime that they have, right? So the colleges are going to take longer to open, right? A lot of colleges have postponed their exams to July, but this 3 months you do not have anything to do. Same with companies. Companies have started to downsize or shorten their working hours. So this time you can basically upskill yourself. People who want to take a job, this is the right time to go and get it. So while we want to kind of, our next batch has 100 students. We have already filled up around 82 students. So this batch starts in 10 days and registration closes on April 24th. For people who attend this AMA, we are providing this coursework for 2 lakh rupees. So if you are interested, Kaushik will get going. And if you want to enroll in the coursework or want more details about any of our courses, please provide your email ID, phone number, and name, email ID, and phone number. So if you could help us send your name, email ID, and phone number so to directly to me, that would be helpful.
So in the meantime, I just wanted to answer a couple of questions. Can a 2018 pass out with 69.52 have a chance of getting a job in OEM? Like I said, right? Absolutely. But here's the thing, Uma Maheshwar, there is a very good chance that you would actually get placed in a tier 2 consultant. And here is the usual thing. In the automotive industry, unlike computer science, the way the job search process works is a bit different. So if you have low GPA or if you did not get placement in your college, when you come outside, you go to tier 2 or tier 3 level companies. You work in these companies for at least 1 to 2 years. When you do that, you will be eligible. Like when you try to say change to a different company, At that time, your salary is corrected to market standard very well. So a lot of you, you might have heard your friends saying that computer science students have a very good starting salary, right? In a way, that's correct. So, for example, say one of your friends got a 5 lakh package. In mechanical engineering, especially if you did not get placed, and say you came out of college and your GPA is, like I said, in the average range, your package might be just 3 lakhs. But then, usually, when you get into a tier 2 or a tier 1 consultant, they usually do a salary revision 6 months down the line where you get a 30% hike immediately. That essentially takes you to a 4 lakh package. And usually, depending upon the field, after 2 years, you typically see a 100% jump in salary very easily, which means if you're making 4 lakhs, you get to the 8 lakh range or 8 to 9 lakh range very easily after 2 years.
Yeah, and we have seen this as well, right? So, for example, one thing that I wanted to show you guys is the different types of profiles that get placed, right? So, for example, Puneet finished his MTech and did not get a job. He took up our hybrid electric vehicles and started working as a CFD analyst at Fiat Chrysler. Harshal finished his masters in UK and moved back to India without having success in getting a job in the UK. And he then enrolled in our HEV course. Both Puneet and Harshal were our first batch, got placed. Manogna is a common story that you guys will know, right? Manogna is a student who finished her undergrad, wanted to get into core engineering, was not able to get in. She went on to work for a software company like Infosys or Wipro. Then she took up our master's course, then got placed into GK in aerospace. The brilliant thing is Manogna also got an interview at Mercedes-Benz because of our coursework and went till the final round. Arun Gupta, again, got into DHIO engineering as a CFD analyst. Jorge Martinez finished his master's. I think someone called Hedge had asked this question. If I finish my master's in the US or Europe, can I get a job after finishing that? Will our coursework help? So Jorge Martinez basically finished a master course. He finished also his master's in mechanical engineering or aerospace engineering at Arizona State University. Then he enrolled in our course, and right now he's working as a systems engineer at Bombardier. Right, Ashish Menden again worked in currently pursuing his masters. He finished our HEV course. He got a CAE internship at FEV Automotive. Right, Vignesh, he finished our HEV course, and right now he works as a quality engineer at Cummins in Columbus, USA. Right, Rajesh Deva was currently working as a production engineer. He took up our design specialization, then got into a design engineer in Tata Technologies, and then got promoted, and now is working at Force Motors as a junior engineer manager. Lucky Agarwal was a fourth-year student when he took up our master course. He finished his course and got a R&D specialist at CEAT Tires, right? So you can see a lot of people do that, right? So for example, there is someone called Shrey Shah, right? Shrey Shah finished his master's, did not get a job, took up our master's and got a job in the US, right? And if you want to get into a good university, right? So you will also find that you will find Nikit, Tanuj, Krishnan, Kashif. So all these people work in the top universities, right? And for example, Guru got into Southern Illinois, but got a fully funded admit. So he basically did not pay anything, right? Same thing happened with Raj Dave. He saved $72,000 because all that he did was he finished our master's course, right? So if you are someone who is interested in the coursework, what our course allows you to do is develop a strong portfolio. How do we help you develop a strong portfolio? Basically, every course is structured in a way where you have projects and assignments that you need to work on. So, okay, what happens? This is an online course. What happens if I do not understand a certain topic? That's the point, right? You will have the phone number of a support engineer. There is two ways of support that we do, proactive and reactive. The proactive support is every week for 3 days a week. You basically get a call from us and we ask you where are you in with respect to the coursework? What are the doubts that you have? The first day of the week, we basically give you a study plan. The third day of the week, we see how much you have finished in the study plan. The fifth day of the week, we basically see if you have finished the study plan, do you need an accelerated study plan? If you're stuck, Do you need more support classes? Then there is this one-on-one support sessions. So now there is a group of 160 people, but in the support sessions, there is around 2 to 3 people where you can basically speak with people like Sarang who work in the industry, understand your questions, and solve your problems, right? We have a 50-member support team which supports engineers across the clock, right? So all these things make sure that you finish the coursework. Say, for example, in Udemy, Coursera, EDX, the course completion rate is 10%. So if 100 students take the course, only 10% of the students will finish the course, right? At SkillLink, our course completion rate is right now 78%. So if 100 students take the course, we finish 78% of the students, right? And why is that 78%? And this 78% is the best across all platforms in the world, right? So, and in the 78% people who finish the course, most of them get a job, or the remaining want to do a master's, go abroad, right? So, yeah, guys, there is an online program, there is an offline program. So if you are interested in either of that, you basically put your name, email ID, and phone number. We'll get in touch with you, right? Okay, so I'm going to let Sarang go. Sarang, is there anything that you have in addition that you would like to say?
No, that's it, Surya. I hope I have answered your questions. And guys, really nice talking to all of you.
Great. Thank you so much, Sarang. Shiva Prasad Reddy, are there any weekend sessions or online sessions during evenings or nights if enrolled in Masters in HEV? So it would be better option, go ahead and enroll before I leave my job to enroll. Shiva Prasad, all our courses are have online sessions in the evenings from 6 p.m. to 10 p.m. In the evenings on weekdays. In weekends, we have full day support sessions. So you can basically have those your questions answered. Adarva, I think you asked a question. I do not know what your question is. So if you are able to post your question again, that will be, I'll be able to answer that aspect. Arun Kumar, sir, I'm experienced. Will the job campus off-campus offers made by? So we do not know, right? So a lot of OEMs are taking back the offers, right? Because what we see is people, they do not want to hire people who are not trained. So a few companies are doing that. A few companies are still having the offers, but what we hear is a lot of companies are looking for trained candidates. Rajat, if you want to get into hybrid electric vehicles, this course will definitely help you. JSV, if you want to get into stress engineering domain, then some of the specialization that you need to take a look into is FEA specialization. Sabarishwaran, due to this COVID-19 effect around the globe, will there be a job opening in EV when I complete this course? So you will take 8 months to complete this course. And yes, so at that point of time, the job market should bounce back. And even if the market does not bounce back, there will be companies which will hire EV engineers or HEV engineers and at the time they will only look to hire people who are already trained in the syllabus, because at that point of time they would not want training to be an additional cost to them. Karthik Chavan, yes, you are eligible, Karthik.